Former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy joins me now. All right, so we got Kamala trying to take credit for the ports. Joe Biden just cuts her off, storms the briefing room. Barack's now coming in like a pitcher with like 3 men on base. What is going on, Vivek?
Yeah, so look, I've always said we're not running against an individual candidate, Jesse. We're up against a machine. But this machine, the wheels are starting to come off a little bit. And so I think that we're in the process of defeating a machine. But that's what it's going to take. And the way I look at this, Jesse, is that doesn't end on Election Day. For all intents and purposes, that starts on Election Day. That's not the finish line. That is the start line as far as I'm concerned. And so we need to get in and dismantle that machine. But these are the earliest signs that that machine is just starting to actually combust in front of us.
What other signs are you picking up? Because we're seeing these unions snub Harris. Snub like we've never seen before. Yeah. And we've seen just bad reviews of Walz. And now Barack is now being called in. I mean, he's doing ads for Senate candidates in Michigan. Come on. He's the former president. This guy's got a lot more to do than that.
Well, I did take that as a bearish sign for Democrats because the one area that was the shining spot for them before was that Trump was overperforming a lot of these Republican Senate candidates that were behind in these states, from Michigan to Nevada to Wisconsin to others. But that being said, if Barack Obama's coming out for some of those Senate candidates right now, it suggests to me they're not nearly as confident as their previous puffery would suggest. Now, for our side, I don't want us to be complacent, Jesse. It's easy to fall into that trap as well. We've seen several times over what happens on the eve of these elections. This is around the time, last time around, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed. So I think we got to stay vigilant. We understand it's not an even playing field. We're not here to complain about it or to be complacent. But I do think that the signs can be optimistic, that if we keep our foot on the gas, focus on our own vision, rather than even worrying about the shenanigans at the other side, that's how we're going to win this, not just in November, but to win and rebuild our country back.
It does appear that Trump is more disciplined the last couple weeks. He's very on message. He's been fantastic with the hurricane aftermath. I've never seen him perform like that. When Biden gets on the podium and he says, Kamala co-signed everything. She was responsible for everything in the last 4 years. I mean, the Kamala Harris campaign must be like, oh, my God. That's like the one thing we're trying to get a little distance from. How's this going to play?
So, look, I do think there's a little bit of spite in there. I don't think that everybody's playing for the same team. In American politics, and especially we're now seeing it now on the Democratic side, people are also in it for themselves. And so I do think Biden has a little bit of a sore spot here. They're throwing salt on that wound. And he's eager to say that, you know what, you guys have screwed me over before. Well, when this goes south, then I'm at least going to be able to say that I could have won this election instead of Kamala. So I think there's an element of that in Joe and certainly, almost certainly in Jill Biden. And if you were in their shoes, maybe you'd feel the same way, right? It's a reasonable reaction to have. But I think we're seeing a little bit of that boil over when the Kamala Harris campaign is trying to run away from the Kamala Harris-Joe Biden record, while Joe Biden's saying, not so fast. You were with me at the start, and I'm going to keep you with me to the finish.
Are you worried about voting in Georgia, in North Carolina? I mean, these people's lives have been turned upside down. That's the most important thing. But, you know, it's like an act of God. Anything could happen. This race is just going to be really close.
Yeah, I do have concerns about that. I mean, most importantly, I have concerns about people not being able to get the aid that they need in their hour of need. But I will say that the nation has a leader, whether you call it the president of the United States or not, the person who's filling that role. The person who stepped up to fill that vacuum right now, and you saw it through his trip, is Donald Trump, leading the nation, if not yet from the White House, at least in the character of telling the people who are left behind in places like North Carolina and Tennessee that we've got your back. And I think it's moments like these that we ought to remember. I don't care if those are Democrats or Republicans in need of aid from the government that's falling short right now. We're fellow Americans, and we need leaders who are going to step up in our time of need. We're not seeing it from the Biden-Harris administration, and that's why I think there's a very good chance they're going to be moved out of that White House come just a few months.
All right, and if you're interested in seeing Vivek debate John Bolton, go check out his social media right now. It's entertaining, to say the least.
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, and we got to have debate on the right and with the left, and I think the more debate we have, the better off we are. That was fun at the VMI last night.
Absolutely. Thanks, Vivek. Have a nice weekend. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.